Mm.
Times
Feels
two
so good.
today.
I know, dancing in, it's always a treat when we get like the extra dances, and it's always
Mm.
around the conference when we publish our audiobooks and our ebooks, our print books, and what else? I guess times like this are special parties that we have and bring everybody on.
Right?
Yeah, I love it.
It's exciting.
How you feeling? We're talking about Women Connected in Wisdom, Volume 2, the audiobook. We're launching it. And all the work that we've done on this project, where are you at with it at the beginning of this conversation?
I'm feeling grateful.
Mm,
I was listening to another podcast and I'm apologize because I can't remember the name at the moment, but they were talking about closing loops.
mhm,
They were like, a lot of times we have a lot of loops open in our brains
mhm,
where it, and when you close a loop,
mhm.
it just feels really good.
It
And
does.
so closing the loop on this
Yeah.
audiobook, launching it to
Yes.
our community,
Mm,
it feels really exciting.
yeah, it does.
What about you? How are you feeling about it?
You know how I felt about it, whether it's loops, whether it's tabs open, whether it's books open. Um, I am super excited to close it, here and with the grant at the retail space for Shalo Glow. I felt
Mhm.
like through the process, it was slower than it was supposed to be, that it wasn't happening when I thought it would happen and when it was supposed to be. And I am so grateful that it happened later than I planned it at the beginning, because for the grant for the retail space is one thing, but definitely needed it in the timing that it ended up hitting. And the same thing with this. I'm excited about the narrators' voices and hearing their stories and what I know about these stories and the chapters, having listened to it so many times through the editing process, is that it sounds different now with the
Mm,
backdrop of where we are. You know, Coach Co was not one of our narrators on Volume 1, but she was one of our authors. She was one of our Amazon
mhm,
bestsellers and is
mhm,
constantly, I would say, number one talked about author in Connected in Wisdom Press,
mm,
right? And so now she is a narrator for Volume 2 and back with us. And her story about the Black American dream and Victory World Church and financial wellness and trying to be intentional as an entrepreneur that moved from Louisiana to Atlanta, that
mhm.
sounds different with the backdrop of, you know, tens of thousands of people being pulled from DEI positions and people being laid off, and more people now talking about multiple streams of income making sense. And how do you do that with all the coaching ads that you see and the gaps in information from the people's profiles who you may follow? How do we make it realistic? How do we hold on to our wellness? That's what, we're here to talk about.
Right? I love
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
I love revisiting because it's been a couple of months since the book came out, and
Mm.
I love revisiting the print copy.
Yeah.
And now that we're going to get to hear it in audio, I was
Yes.
just looking through it and I was noticing some of the details and
Mm.
just gratitude.
Yes.
I love the quotes that we pick to
Hmm.
uplift women's voices. I love the different chapters. You just mentioned Coach Co, and one of her
Yeah.
chapters is faking, praying, and chasing. Oh
Oh
my.
my.
Oh my.
Yes.
Jaylon's Salah, who is from
Mm-hmm.
Egypt, is in this
Yes.
book. The Three Moons of Jay.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Our Divine Nature by Raleigh Duchen. We have got,
Yes, Rayleigh.
oh my gosh, yes, we have got Spiritual Material Wellness, The Best of Both Worlds with Anna
Mm-hmm.
Gottman.
Doctor, yes.
Dr. Anna Gottman, yeah. We've
Yes.
got, oh my gosh, it's just like, I'm like, woo,
It's good,
this was
y'all.
good.
It's good. I'm talking about from the middle of the forest writing, from um, supermodels in Paris to
hmm
now, helping people with their
hmm
wellness and a 1 degree shift. That's what Dr. Anna Gottman does. And we
Right?
talked earlier about Dr. Amanda Kemp too at the strong leg at the end of the book, and she's talking about running and
Mm,
sprinters versus the long distance runners and how it's okay to slow down. And we were just talking about that on the podcast.
We got a couple of social workers in this book. Eileen
Mhm.
Dillon, who talks
Yes.
about engage your anger to help you develop a easier, healthier, and more joyful life, and do that in a healthy way, which I
Yeah.
think we need at this time in
Shh.
our lives. We've
All
got
the time.
Cecile Armstrong, who talks about let your body be your guide
Mhm.
as a community activist,
Yeah.
and yeah, and how we look towards that for emotional and mental wellness.
Mhm.
We got my friend Sula Milstead, who I
Yeah.
used to walk to middle school with, has a
Yes.
chapter about self care is an all time job.
Yes.
Woo!
Yeah, she used to say full-time job, but we know it's an all-time job, and
Right?
I love Sula's story helps me remember that sometimes you might not have the whole list built out, especially
Hmm.
after big things, but just start where you are and rebuild it with what you need for this season.
Right?
Yeah. Who else did we not list yet?
We've got Marla Durden, Remember Who
Yes.
You Are.
Remember who
We've
you are.
got I'm just flipping through and smiling because we
Yeah.
have all of our authors' pictures in here too. And of course you're in here several
Yes.
times. We've got Dr. Wajida Small, Finding and Aligning Your Purpose, Be Fulfilled in Everything You Do.
Hmm.
And a couple of these ladies are hoping to hop on tonight. So
Yeah,
we
let's
are
see where
hoping that we
everybody's.
get to see them and see
Yeah,
what they've
see
been
where
up
they're
to.
at.
You did the chapter about maximize your capacity.
Hmm. Yeah, and for that, it's not about doing more, doing the most. It's about making it sustainable, just like we talked about on the
Mhm,
podcast. Today we were talking about physical wellness, y'all. And Amber, our guest, shared how one of the self-limiting beliefs that she believed when she was going through things with her hormone journey, her weight loss journey, was that if she rested, she would gain the weight back.
mhm,
And what maximize your capacity about in the intellectual wellness is how do you make it sustainable? Yes, we have a
mhm,
lot of work, right? I talk about my color coded system. I have my pens right here. I have my planner right here. Yes, we do all the tasks, but after we do this stuff, um, do we rest? Do we celebrate? As we're doing
right,
it, do we check in with our team? Check in with your team's capacity. Sure, you had a goal for this week, but maybe if you can reach it by the end of the month, it makes sense to push it to the next week. What makes sense with everybody on board? Those things help keep us sustainable and help you reach your potential without the burnout.
right.
So, yeah.
How you been with the change in the time change in the United States with daylight savings time?
It's actually been reminding me of being a kitchen manager,
Okay.
and what I always think about it, it depends on your schedule. Right? It's been reminding me of being a closing kitchen manager. And okay, everybody gets an hour. I'm still at work when everybody's going to sleep. And so this year I wasn't at work. But it reminded me of what we've been talking about in human design. And as being a manifester, having those cycles of creativity and then the rest. And I'm in a period of rebuilding logistics in a number of different ways, building
Mhm,
environments in a number of different ways, building communication lines in a number of different ways. And so I was looking forward to the rest, to the sleep. And what ended up happening over the last few days is that I've been intentional about the the different types of sacred rest that I talk about in my chapter. I haven't
mhm,
been able to sleep that well. So as far as the sleep hours, I did not get an extra hour, but I've been intentional about sleeping later when I can, still getting stuff done when I can, and the rest that I took instead of the physical rest of sleep was social rest, right? I was
mm,
able to process some things. I was able to switch to another color on my blanket. I told you I've been crocheting our blankets, right? So
right.
I finished the top of my blanket and I'm putting the burgundy back on the top and just spent time, thinking about where I am right now, giving
Nice.
myself, the space that, what's her name? Tracy Hersey talks about in Rest as Resistance and
Mhm,
space to daydream. So sometimes I sacrifice the space to sleep when I'm supposed to get more rest for something else so that I
mm,
can be as rested as possible.
mm.
Hmm.
That makes me think about creative rest.
Yeah.
Right? Because I
Yeah.
came back from this trip just feeling so joyful and so full and
Mm,
expansive. And I think
good.
part of it is I wasn't in creation mode. I was witnessing other people's creation and
Mm,
other people's art and other people's creativity. And and you know I love to create, so
Yeah.
it wasn't about that. I did do a little creating. I shouldn't say that because we
I was gonna
had
ask you.
well, because we were helping, with
Mhm.
Sheila's brother's pottery studio, and he had a lot of giveaways that were his testers.
Mhm.
So we just had this free table, and I was like, "Oh, we should show folks what we could do with them." So I took a stick out of the burn barrel because it was this
Mhm.
really cool looking stick and it had some carving on it. And
Mhm.
I took twine and I took the free things and I made a wind chime so people could see how to
Nice.
use it. I'll send you a picture of it as an example
Please.
and to leave it for Heather. But
Yeah.
it was super fun. And also just helping arrange where things go and how to, all that's creative
Mm.
without stress of creativity for me.
Yeah.
It was
I
good.
love that.
But
And it really reminds me of our calls that we have with our cohorts.
hmm
Yes, you're there, you have your excerpt, you have your chapter. You said that it was like 50 artists there, right,
hmm
in New Mexico. And so you're one of many, right? And you have what you're working on and what you're thinking about bringing, but you get to pause and like listen and support the other stories. And I know Jailon and I have started talking about volume 3, and oh, I'm excited to hear this part of Shannon because XYZ, so you get that feedback and kind
right,
of like a different creative space that you can then take that into your writing time. Like, okay, I know where I'm going to go next.
right,
So I love that you got to do that. Then I love that you got to support Sheila and her brother. I know it's been a lot.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was grateful. I was grateful that we've created lives where we can be supportive to our
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And I usually get to say I can work wherever I am, but this
Mm-hmm.
was in the middle of nowhere, and
Mm-hmm.
there were some real connection issues. Literally, Shannon, you're driving through the canyon, or
Yeah.
you'd see this little SOS pop up, and it'd say
Mm-hmm.
satellite.
Mm-hmm.
And so, depending where you were on the town, in order to get coverage, you had to hold your phone up and
Oh, wow.
find where the satellite was.
Shoo. I thought we were past those days.
No, no,
Got it.
no, not in rural
Okay.
America. And so,
Okay.
like, I had to sacrifice some Zoom calls because if you have
Mm.
to hold your phone up to find the
Right. Phew.
I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm
No.
gonna have to reschedule.
You're not going to be able to be active in the chat. Are you not on camera correctly?
Right.
Uh,
I couldn't even hear the sitting.
my
It was
goodness.
wild. And it was good to unplug a little bit. It was kind of like a
Yeah.
forced situation, but
Yeah.
it also my nervous system was really grateful to take a break
Yeah.
and be with who I was with.
Yeah.
So that was really good.
I
And
understand.
the nature was just incredible. That was the other
Yeah.
thing is it's really expansive there because
Mm.
it's desert, so there's mountains and there's desert, and the sunsets and the sunrises are pretty
Yeah.
expansive. It's yeah, it was pretty fantastic.
Wow.
So, mm,
I love that. And I know you love looking at the beauty, so
right, I
each
do.
day it's been like facing the challenges, seeing how we can pivot, seeing how we can build win-win-win situations, making sure to include the joy and stop and enjoy the beauty too. We look down the street, we're right here by the water, which is a lot of places, thankfully, in New
Mhm.
Jersey, and Pharaoh was talking about how it looked like a painting. And so we just kind of stood and enjoyed it for
Mm.
a second, and kept going.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
I
beautiful.
love it. Well, I
Yeah.
know we're here tonight to chat about the release of our audiobook for
Yeah.
Women Connected in Wisdom, Volume
Mm-hmm.
2, Stories and Resources Rooted in the Eight Dimensions of Wellness.
Yes.
We have some incredible authors, some incredible stories. It's already an Amazon bestseller, has been for
Yes.
a while.
Yes.
And where I want to put up where folks can get this because
Yeah.
we're recommending that you run over to Apple and get it. It's a great price over on Apple Books.
Yes.
And you pretty much can get it wherever you can get audiobooks.
Right. And so if you're like how I used to be, I was again, I don't like to go with the crowd. If you tell me what to do, I might intentionally not do it if I can build a win-win-win situation. And so I was a guardian of the galaxy for a long time, y'all. I was not on Apple anything, right? And so if you're one of those people and you don't have Apple Books, absolutely. Where do you get your books? Just like you can find our podcast on your favorite podcast platform, you can probably find our book just about anywhere. And if you are not connected to these different platforms like Apple, Barnes and Nobles, the major book retailers, and you really can't find it, just like our podcast, let us know. and we'll see if we can
Mhm.
get it uploaded and get, the resources that you're looking for in your hands. But what I'm really excited about this for you guys is the lean towards emotional and mental wellness. You know, we like it, and our goal when we write each volume is to be built out. We would love 4 people in each category. And so as the hybrid press in this compilation, we were like, how do we feel about more people being in emotional and mental? And it filled up so
Mhm.
quick. And we were
Mhm.
excited about it. And we decided to honor what came through the doors. And that's how the balance of the conversation went for this volume when you listen to the audiobook. But I love that because of where we were when we wrote it, where we are now,
Mhm.
right? And we know that, like Eileen shares about emotions in her chapter, that's the foundation for a lot of stuff. And that's the support that we've needed over the last few years with where we are and after COVID. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear it. We've seen how it's benefited and impacted so many people through our reviews online, on Amazon. So let us know what you think after you listen to it. And the last thing I'll say, y'all, if you've been beating yourself up for not having time to read it, you can stop doing that. We have the audiobook for you, right? That is why we do all these different forms of things, because we know that life is busy, and we want you to get the information. So take it however it makes sense for you. It looks like we have this party starting. Let's see where our ladies are, so that they're in the space that they want to be to come on. How do we want to do this right now, Christine?
Well, if we can see Coach Co's camera, I think we just pulled her up on stage. We
And
were
I
just
wonder,
calling her name.
we were. I wonder if she wants to be on camera, if she wants to be off, because it looks like her mic's on. You want to try and then, or you want to wait? What should we do? What do you think?
I think we wait.
Okay, let's wait.
Yeah, and when she's
Um,
ready, we'll pull her up.
yeah, and if you want to stay off camera, code, give us a comment or something. We'll pull you up. Because, and that's something that, I learned from you, Christine, as you and Sheila transitioned online at the beginning of 2020, and
Mhm.
I went through your class, and we had classes on speaking online. Is let people be where they are on camera.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
we support that too. What's this? And is this us earlier? Yep, she needs to be off. Okay,
All right,
let's do
no
it.
worries. Let's pull her up.
Hey, Ko.
Hey, ladies, how are you?
Oh
Super
my
excited.
gosh, better now, friend.
Yeah.
How is it going?
And we got our narrator on here. We were just talking about how you coming into the narrator group, volume 2. How are you feeling during this conversation, this little party we're about to start?
I am feeling wonderful. I'm so excited to get the book out, the audio
Yes.
book, so that people can hear
Yeah.
the stories because it's a difference in hearing than reading. Both are wonderful, but it's a difference, right?
Mm. So I
Mhm.
love, as the owner of Go Reader, what you just said brings that up. I know you help children with their literacy. When you think about the benefit of listening to what we talk about versus reading it, what do you see as the difference?
So, I see the difference into being able to connect speech language to it and sharing your story because you can read and you can also, imagine and but you can also create a different imagination and a different process while you're listening as well because they're both from what I'm learning are two different skills. So, just being able to mesh them both. Like one of the things I like to do is like my struggling readers, I like to get them to read the story first and we connect and read together. And then I'll have them go back and listen to the story and make sure that they're connecting the words that they didn't know, being able to see it visually and listen to it so that they can
Mhm.
build that skill as well.
So can we break that down, right? Because on the podcast we just had, we had this really long list of like hormone tests that somebody should do, right? And like we talk about, one of our episodes that we love when Brandy Lee came on and shared listening to our podcast helped her hear again. What I see, Cole, for our book and our work is that we help people hear in their wellness, right? And so
Yeah.
if somebody's like your students, I want to break down what you said because I don't know if I missed a step. Is it 2 or 3 times that you have them go through it? It sounds like you said they read it. Was the second step you reading it with them? Or was it like that second and third step together where you read it with them and then they go through it again? What are the steps?
So I'm glad you said that because it depends on where the reader is.
Okay.
Like if the reader is a struggling reader to the point where they are not able to read the book by themselves, most
Mm-hmm.
of the times, and it's a book that's like when you have struggling readers that are on like say they're on a middle school level but they're reading way below that, you
Mm-hmm.
still want to try to get a book that's going to still interest them even if it's not necessarily on their level. So that's when I will partner read with them. So and when I partner read, or they'll call it pair reading or guided reading, whenever I read with them, I'm reading one page, they're reading the next page, I'm reading one page, they're reading the next page, like that. And then I'll have them go back and listen to the story like a read to me, where they're able to visually see the words and listen to the words at the same time. And I'm like, look at the words that you don't know and let's connect with them so that you are hearing it more than once and
Mm-hmm.
connecting with it. You're listening to me say it out loud, modeling how reading cadence and
Mm-hmm.
reading should go. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading it with them so that they can pick up that inflection in the voice and being able to have some expression with their reading,
Right.
connecting when they should stop at commas and periods and things like that. So they're able to model that as well as listen to the words. Now, if you have a reader that is just struggling with comprehension,
Mm-hmm.
then you can let them read the story by themselves and go back and listen to it as well to help build that comprehension skill.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I wanted to go so specific into your answer is because, again, of what our guest just said. She said that after the list of these hormone tests that she gave, maybe it sounds, do you remember the word she used, Christine? Sounds like, she said it
Sounds like
sound maybe gibber jash, something gibber
right,
jab, something she
gibberish.
said. Yeah, gibberish. That's what she said. And so a lot of times, y'all, like when we get into these new topics that we are not literate in, right? The industry jargon, each industry has its own language, can sometimes be daunting. I get that, right? And I talk about being overwhelmed and daunted and
Mm-hmm.
daunted a word in my chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just had somebody telling me that they read the book and listen to audiobooks at the same time. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
there with some of our stuff, like read it, listen, whatever you got to do, to get the information and get to the level of wellness that you need. And Co, I would love for you. I love that you help people with this. I would love for you to talk more about how you feel right now. You were where you were with being a narrator and using your voice for volume one, right? And here we are, Amazon bestsellers again, volume two, but it's different now because Co is a narrator, right? And I was there with you through the process as we worked through this. So, as a speaker and somebody who helps people with literacy, but still had the question of, does my authentic voice belong on the recording or should it be something else? What was that like for you and where are you at with it now?
So there were several things that went through my mind with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good question. At first, it was more of a fear
Okay.
because I just never really thought of myself as a speaker.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked speaking, if that makes sense, but I
Yeah.
never saw myself as a speaker. But teaching has changed that so much because I have to speak in front of kids all the time,
Yeah.
and the kids will let you know when they don't understand what you're saying or what you're
Okay.
talking about. So you have
Okay.
to know how to break down language, and you also have to be able to say it in a way that they're going to understand it. I remember one time I was like, oh my gosh, this room is a mess. You need to pick up everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they just picked it up and looked at me. And I said, pick it up. I was like, pick it up. And they were like, we did. And they were
And
just
now put
standing
it
there
up.
holding it. And I'm
Wow.
like, put it away, put it away.
Yeah.
Like you, so I'm like, you got to be literal. You got to be
Yeah.
able to break things down. And then
Mm-hmm.
I've worked in multiple grade levels from kindergarten, special education, all the way up now. I have seventh grade under my belt now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I have to be able to break things apart in a way that all of them going to get it where it's still engaging and interesting. So that was the challenge of learning how to be a teacher and how to be an effective teacher, right? And
Right.
then putting my narration in, I was like, we've been trained so much in, as millennials, Gen Xers, and different things like that, that
Mm-hmm.
things are supposed to be perfect, right?
Right.
They've trained us, you have a journalism voice, you have a speaker voice, you have a newscaster voice, you have this, and I didn't feel like I match any of that. I'm like, I'm from
Perfect.
Louisiana. I have a country voice. I have an accent,
I
and
Love
I'm
love
it.
your voice.
Love
Of
it.
course, my last
Check,
name's
check, check.
Gotro, so
right. Right. So I'm like, I'm how am I going to say these words? I'm
Hmm.
still pinpointing, even when I listen to myself on podcasts, I'm like, there are certain words and letters that just don't come out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how am I going to say this and do this? And then after working with Shannon and talking to Shannon and her giving me all kind of pump ups and telling me
Hmm.
do it, I finally was able to build the confidence to do it and just go all in. And I had to like just kind of spontaneously do it because I did it the night of the way it was supposed to be turned in.
Yeah. And we build in breaks and stuff, so
Yeah.
sometimes it's like even the people who seem like it would make the most sense for them to be comfortable. Because I think that the streets and the readers, I think that they love you, Cole. You were most talked about author of Connected and Wisdom Press. And so I
yep.
appreciate you sharing your story, right? I appreciate you sharing, like, yes, this is me, and I hit this fear thing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you did it. And so now on the other side of doing it, now being able to say I'm a speaker and a narrator, how you feel?
I feel very blessed and very thankful for this opportunity that you ladies have presented me with because I mean, I just think that sometimes you have to be pushed and challenged, and some people have to help you in your community and your connections with people. They have to push you to be better and to do things outside of your scope. And it's amazing because sharing this with my students, they're so excited about that. They're so shocked by things like that. And that makes
Good.
them feel great. You know,
Mm.
if I can talk to any parent or auntie or anybody or like any teacher out there, paraprofessional,
Mhm.
that kids love that connection piece to know that you have a life outside of school. And
Mhm.
whenever you build those connection pieces, it makes things a little bit more interesting for them. And
Yes.
that's kind of been one of those things. I love sharing my experiences with them, either where I'm going, where I've been. And I'm excited to go and be at places and talk to them and share with them about it. And my nieces, I share with them and talk to them about it. And they love that stuff. And so I love being on the other side of being able to share that piece with them and encourage them to do more things and to know that there are more things out there that you can do besides be on YouTube.
Yes. Yes, I love that because even YouTube has to have somewhere to go. You can build it. You can build it from there, um, and the whole list of things. But I'm super excited for you to be here. Thank you so much for your bravery, and yeah, I love it. It's part of my passion of what we do is your voice. Your voice from Louisiana who was told to be quiet and felt like you couldn't speak to now Amazon bestselling author multiple times, narrator, speaker, teacher, and beyond. It's so important. And imagine how many people would not have gotten the help with their literacy if you would not speak.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
As your assignment is not always connected to you, is most of the time it's not just about you. And
Mm-mm.
that's what teaching and learning more about purpose, God-given purpose, I've learned that a lot of times it's not really about you. It's about you in the sense of what you've gone through and how you can share that with people and grow with people. But it's not really, you don't know who your assignment is attached to and who you're helping in this process to
Mm-hmm.
grow, get closer to God, get closer to their own purpose, just
Mm-hmm.
build a piece of confidence, a piece of understanding how to read and understanding what they read, because that's one of the things that some of these kids don't understand. It's like they think they can read
Mm-hmm.
because they're able to say the words on the paper, but if you don't understand what you're reading,
Oh,
if
mm-mm.
you're not comprehending what you're reading, that's not reading.
It's
Reading
not.
is understanding, fluency, and being able to read the words on the paper, so
Absolutely.
accurately read the words on the paper.
And not to discredit where being able to sound the words out and say them is, right? I could probably read a whole book in Spanish. I could probably read the whole book. Will I know what it means? Absolutely not. Not all of it. I'm gonna be picking out words XYZ. I definitely need translator. And so I definitely hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a beautiful thing, reading and literacy and being able to do audiobooks. This whole process, whenever you break down the brain and you understand, because there's just so many things, because now the schools are big on science of reading.
Hmm.
So when you break down the brain and all of the different things that's in the brain, you realize that all of the brain requires so many different skill sets to be able to do all of this. So it's
Hmm.
not it's creativity, but it's also the magic of the brain being able to do an audiobook, put those words out there, say those words, write those words on paper, read those words out loud. It is a lot of steps going on in the brain. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
Beautiful. So, Christine, I know you talk a lot about, you know, growing up, and in the book you talking about being in the yard with your sister. You talk about walking to school with Sula and thinking about books and knowing that you wanted to
Mhm.
be an author. So what is it like for you to hear Coach share and to know that we work with women from their 20s to their 80s? We have two cohorts as a hybrid publishing company. What has that been like?
Right? Well, I'm just so delighted because Coach Co's talking about purpose, and I was
Yeah.
raised by two public school teachers. So when I get really excited,
Ooh.
the part of my brain gets really excited when she starts talking about the reading and the connecting in our
Right.
brains. And I'm a
Right.
lifelong learner,
Yeah.
and even through this process has been learning. Like you and I mean, one of the reasons we became publishers was
Hmm.
because we were fascinated by the process and we knew we could do a good job connecting our authors and supporting them through the whole process. And
Yeah.
so I'm just delighted. It's a lot of work. You were the project manager on this one. It's a
Oof.
lot
It
of work,
is. Yes, it
and
Mhm.
is.
um and it's worth it, right? It's
It is
worth
worth
it
it.
to uplift voices, to uplift
Hmm.
women's voices, and to be able to share. Because here's the thing about print, about audio, like your voice is out there. Like you're in, I think we lost Coach Co. Um, and then we will, it's out there. It's in the Library of Congress. It is,
Yeah.
you are, as an author, as a writer, as a speaker, you are creating content. And with our content, I believe we're creating content that makes a difference in the world.
Yes, it does.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's it for me, the difference made in the world. I think about and I get told this a lot, how I should go get my doctors and be and counsel and all this stuff. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I do that though. I help
Mhm.
people through their situations instead of you and I talking hourly, and maybe one day we'll be able to do that. We'll see where their future goes. We can connect you to Eileen Dillon. We can get your kid
Yeah.
connected to Dr. Ko. So instead of you stressing and arguing about reading grades, we can get you some more support, and then the house will have more peace, and then you'll sleep more, and your children will be happier at school, and so I love doing that in every dimension with ladies from around the world who have put in work for decades, um, and to see the readers and the listeners say, awesome book, really needed it. To see the
Mhm.
guys say, I thought this was for women, and if you need help with wellness, you should pick this up no matter who you are. You know, that really means a lot.
Right? Well,
Yeah.
tell me how you're feeling about this process. Tell me
Yeah.
where you are at this stage of development with this audiobook coming out.
Stage of development. I am thinking about where we are as a collective,
Mhm.
right? And how long do we have on the air? I'm not asking you about this live right now. I'm saying, how long will Christine
Mhm.
and I be able to broadcast across the air? Like, that's historic that we can even
Mhm.
do this. You know what I mean? With the press, with the women's stories. And so, being able to say to little Shannon in 2025, with this background, culturally and economically and everything, you're going to be putting great stuff on social media and helping the world with their wellness. That puts me in a great place. Um, Super excited, like, for people like Coach Co's story, is what we do at the podcast, right? Uplifting those marginalized voices. And a lot of times, those are the people that are really hurt, right? They're dealing with stuff like we talked about on the podcast, medical positions and diagnoses that they're not getting everything they need for. That's where my mom was. at the doctor, and I was the one that gave her a supplement because part of the chemo and stuff is her loss of appetite. And I was
Mhm.
frustrated because this doctor didn't
Mhm.
tell her about Ensure. How can I, as a psychology major, be telling you about Ensure and your doctor didn't give you this?
Mhm.
Like, I was upset. And so you asked, where am I at? I am super giddy, super grateful, and happy to be in the position to help hold all these doors open.
Mm.
And the what I was thinking about before, I recently told a story. I think it was last week's podcast 206, about this young lady at high school who taught me about the boundaries that I wanted to hold for my self respect and the line of self disrespect, right? And I said I was helping this young lady. She was in JROTC. I was in band, so I'm always helping people with different groups. She was in one of my little friend circles. Long story short, y'all, I was helping her back and forth to the parking lot, and she was kind of all over the place and realized that I was overextending myself helping her. And she was like, "Why are you allowing me to treat you this way?" Right? And I was like, I need to not allow somebody else to say that to me. Like, I need to
Mhm.
get there myself. And so I shared
Right.
that story. But this young lady was also a young lady who I would joke with. And sometimes we would say, "Oh, story of my life, volume 365." And I would just throw that out there, right? But we're really on volume 2 right now. And I was serious when I said volume, story of my life, volume. And so now we're on volume 2. So I am
Right.
giddy about,
I
seeing like the different things that I love show up.
right. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You had mentioned one of our reviewers saying not just for women, and I
Yeah.
couldn't remember what he said, so I want to read this because it's kind of hysterical.
Yeah. Read it.
He said, "This book was recommended to me by as a friend as a way to remind me not to stress in life, but that's hard.
Mm,
The good thing is this book is so much more than a de-stressor. While reading it, I learned more than to take a step back and breathe. I learned how to
mm,
better express myself without fear, shame, or guilt.
mm,
This book is written by a large group of experts who are sharing what they've learned over many decades. And it's not only a feel good book, it's a get inspired book. You'll read what an 80-year-old marriage therapist practicing since 1972 has learned as she encourages you to transform your anger into curiosity, or how a community building mother experienced the loss of her child and began the process of self healing, or how an embittered human resource practitioner started to despise the people she worked with and
mm,
took the first step towards change. This book doesn't contain fluff or useless tactics. I love that line.
I love that line too.
But instead shares potent stories that remind us of how many brave, authentic, and inspiring people there are out there. At first, I was a little hesitant because I'm a male and this book appeared to be only for women, but I was wrong. It's for anyone who wants to better their lives by reading concise, interesting stories about people who have done so. Lastly, I do love how the book doesn't skip financial fulfillment, considering it's such a large component of our lives. I strongly recommend this book to anyone who wants to quickly get to the core of what it means to live a meaningful life.
Mm,
That's lovely. And now,
yes.
in 2 hours and 13 minutes, you can listen to it on a
Yes.
commute, when you're running,
Yeah.
when you're on a road trip.
Yeah.
I want to read just some of the highlights of our reviews. And
Okay.
y'all, if you're listening to this and you get the book, we love reviews. Like our authors love reviews, they're so helpful for us. This
Yes.
review said this book could change your life. I love that. And it starts out that it is a treasure. And then one says a valuable tool at an urgent time, which is interesting because this has been a minute since our print
Hmm.
version came out. And I
And
think the times are even more urgent.
they
Like
are.
I wrote my chapter in here about environmental wellness.
Hmm.
And whew, this current administration just opened up the Arctic, some of the most pristine environmental
I didn't
places
know
we
that.
have that has been protected for years. And they just opened it up to drilling, which puts wildlife and the land in danger.
And
Um,
so while we're on that, y'all, and we like to do wisdom in action, things you can do. I've seen a lot of these huge natural disasters, right? A lot of this flooding. Just
mhm.
to give us a heads up or forewarning, if, accurate, what I see is if it's going to melt, it goes somewhere, right? Matter
Mhm,
cannot be destroyed. So I see rain increase directly proportional to ice melting. And so
mm,
if we're getting these high waters now, continue to watch it. And as it
mhm,
melts, I believe the rainwaters will rise.
mhm,
So let's see. But again, um, that is not in our control, and I will not be driving a huge ship through ice anytime soon. And so I love thinking about the resources and everything that we're talking about, because hearing that and caring about it, like a lot of caring people do, can put you in a certain place. So what do? Recenter
Yeah.
yourself. What works?
Well, I think that's one of the things about this book. Like one of
Yeah.
the reviewers said, it's
Mm,
incredibly encouraging and relatable. And they said, I'm in a rough season of life that can
yeah.
be feel incredibly isolating, which a lot of people, my clients, the people you talk with,
Yeah.
like have expressed that, right?
Hmm.
This is a challenging time right now, to put it mildly,
Very mildly.
in our history.
Yeah.
And this reviewer said, reading this book is like chopping it up about life with friends who actually get it. The stories are so relatable, and I feel less alone knowing that I'm not the only one going through certain things. What
No.
I also love is how encouraging it is. And not only the women sharing their stories, but sharing practical wisdom on how they navigated different seasons of life.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend.
Can you uplift? Can we go through the list of names? Who are the names of the reviews you just
This
read?
one just said Amazon customer.
Okay.
The one I read earlier, because not everybody puts their reviews on
They don't
there.
know their names.
Joaquin Pacer was the one that said not just for women.
Thank
The
you,
one that
Joaquin.
said this book could change your life says just a
Yeah.
consumer.
Yeah. Thank you, consumers. Yes. And
um,
not just. That's what I thought when I
right.
read that the first time. Yeah.
D Straight F, I
Yeah.
don't know that name, a
Yeah.
valuable
Stariff or
tool for
something.
an urgent time.
Yeah.
And that person said this read is like having a structure to self care and mental health balance at a time when it is most needed. Yeah.
Yes. I love
D.
that.
Fox said 8 dimensions of wellness plus 11 wise women equal wow. I love
Yeah.
that. And started out their review saying it's layered and used with useful truth. And I loved reading these glimpses into real life experience of women who care about themselves and others. Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I love that. And the reviews are amazing. They're great
Hmm.
for both books, and I love reading it. What I love more is the real impact that we don't hear. Like that, it sounds great, but it's really deeper when it is impacting that person and what they're
Right?
sharing. So I'm super excited for the positive influence and the impact that it's had on y'all's lives. And those are the people who haven't brought it up. And what I wanted to share too, I think about your professor, Christine.
Which one? Brene Brown?
Dr. Brene Brown, right?
Hmm.
And the part of her story, I believe it was Dare to Lead, when she's sharing how this white man came up to her after one of her book signings, one of her events, and was talking about how his wife would rather he fall, or his wife and his daughters would rather that he fall off the horse that they put him up on instead of
Hmm. The
not
White
being
Horse.
okay, and
Yeah.
just being, and just really leveling with him and where he was. And so
Hmm.
since then, I've had an even bigger heart for men. And I love that he said, not only can I step back, so he's not on a horse, right? He's
Hmm.
on his 2 feet, he's stepping back because it's not all his to hold. He's taking a
Hmm.
deep breath, right? And all these other things. I love that. And I hope it benefited, his family well. And I hope that a lot of men have that story. And we're intentional about uplifting women's voices, and we'll continue to do that. But we also know that the men will benefit from it and that it's
Yeah.
important for everybody.
That's true. And you
Yeah.
mentioned Dr. Brene Brown. She has a new
Yeah.
book out.
Oh, what's she
Give
have
her a
going on?
shout out. It's called
Okay.
Strong Ground: The Lessons
Mm,
of Daring Leadership, the Tenacity of Paradox, and the Wisdom of the Human Spirit.
okay. Now, I need to follow up with all her work because all of it's really on the like to go through list. But yep, new
Right?
work can definitely be added. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that just came out
Yeah.
in the last either last month or so. So,
Perfect. And we were just talking
right?
about the ground that he was standing on. So that's what I want everybody to have, to trust that they're worthy, that you're not alone, you're important, you're cared about, and I'm so
Hmm.
glad that that genuinely comes through and it is shown in the reviews that they feel that even though our chapters are, and I don't want to say even though, like, you know, it doesn't have to be a huge long Harry Potter book like I'm used to reading. It could be just, let me tell you what happened. And oh, that helps. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, because there's a lot.
On D. Fox's review, I love
Uh,
this. He said, the last line in the book is my best recommendation for reading it.
mm,
And in quotes, there is always something to be learned about how you see yourself in the world. End quote.
yes, so important.
Mm.
And I love ending it
Well,
on that.
friend,
Yeah,
I think we're about done. I
we
mean, we
are.
came to do what we wanted to do, to say,
Yeah.
hey, y'all,
Audiobook is
Volume 2
available.
audiobook is available.
Yes,
Get it where
listen
you get
now.
your audiobooks. We put a link in the comments
Hmm.
to Apple Books.
Right.
We'd love for you to listen in, give us a review,
Yeah.
connect with us.
Hmm.
If you're interested in being an author for Volume 3, reach out and let us know.
Yeah.
If you want to connect, you can go to our website, womenconnectedinwisdom.com. You
Hmm.
can get on our mailing list. You can follow us on socials. We're on
Hmm.
Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook.
Yes.
Anything else you want to tell them?
Anything else for expanding the circle of wellness audiobook launch? I don't think so. You know that you're worth being well. You don't have to apologize for it, and it doesn't have to be for anybody else. It's so that you're well. It is true. Everything else will benefit after that, but it's not about that. You deserve to be well, be wise, be whole, and we look forward to continuing to support you in that and staying connected.